Hi, I'm Brenda, and you're listening to the Little Kingdom Warriors podcast, where we help our kids discover God through play. Are you overwhelmed by the weight of your never-ending list of things to do, but desperately want to invest in your kids' faith life? Are you tired of the same old colouring sheets and seemingly lifeless Bible stories that you're even struggling to sound enthusiastic about? Well, I'm here to help. I'm a lover of all things creative, an ex-primary school teacher turned stay-at-home mum and follower of Jesus. Let's walk this path together and transform our kids' lives with new and exciting ways to explore the Bible and help them become God's little kingdom warriors. We might not have it all together, but with God, and maybe a strong coffee or two, we've got this. Hello and welcome to the Little Kingdom Warriors podcast, and today we are going to be discussing 3 reasons why we aren't doing Santa in our family and what convicted me to tell the truth to our kids about Santa. So a little warning, listener discretion is advised. I would not have little kids listening in on this unless you're already having these frank conversations with your kids in regards to Santa. So to begin with, this is going to be a little bit of story time. I was a very creative child, so from a very early age I had a wild imagination. I was really into make-believe. In England we lived near a woods, and I would often spend a lot of time playing in the woods, and I was incredibly obsessed with Santa and other make-believe characters like the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy. So much so that I remember some of my childhood walking around the woods and looking up at the trees and trying to talk to the fairies. I was really into it. It was definitely to the point of obsession. I remember watching movies about fairies and looking for them in the woods and making little places for them to sit and have parties, and then later making little fairy parties for my sister. And the reason I'm bringing up fairies is because I feel like all these make-believe characters sort of feed into each other. And while this all sounds relatively innocent, what it's important to realise is this profoundly impacted my thoughts around God. My mum and dad didn't actively encourage Santa, it was just everywhere. So it didn't take much to just go with the flow. And it's just so ingrained in our society to the point where I even remember watching the news and they would have the weather reports about it being clear skies for Santa on Christmas Eve. I convinced myself and I wanted to believe that Santa was real. And I think I knew it wasn't. Perhaps my mum's handwriting in one of the books I got from Santa in kindy should have given it away, but apparently it didn't to me. To some people, it's not a big issue, and they can definitely distinguish between fact and fiction early on. My husband, Danny, said that he knew from a very early age that Santa was just make-believe, but for me, it definitely was more ingrained in my mind that Santa was a real person. I remember my brother Mark and I even waiting up to see Santa and looking for his shadows, and I can remember Mark saying, "Oh yeah, someone at school saw the shadow of Santa last year," so we would be waiting up, staying up late at night looking for Santa. We were just so obsessed with it. I can also remember thinking to myself that if the whole adult population was in on the secret of Santa, then how is God any different? And this leads me to my first point, and this is one of the reasons that I feel personally I don't want to be encouraging Santa in my family with my kids. Number 1, trust is at the heart of a healthy parent-child relationship. This is going to possibly ruffle some feathers, but essentially encouraging a belief in Santa is lying to your children. Sorry. Lying breaks trust. For myself, I want to foster relationships with my kids where it's open and honest, and lying to them about Santa can really erode that trust. I personally began to have some deep-seated questions after I felt that my parents weren't entirely truthful with me, even though they didn't actively go over the top and dress up as Santa or anything like that. I felt that it was enough that I felt a bit misled. Children trust their parents to tell them the truth, and it was the same with me and my family. I just expected that my mum and dad were being honest with me, and it really sort of rocked me to the core when I felt like not only my parents, but a whole bunch of other adults were all in on this lie, basically, that Santa is real. And if they're all in on this lie that Santa is real, well, what else are they lying to me about? Is God not real too? I do remember when Mark finally cottoned on to Santa not being real. I can remember, I think my mum was standing in the kitchen and he said, "Mum, Santa's not real, is he?" And she sort of paused and she goes, "No." I said, What about the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy? They're not real either, are they? And I think she said something like, "No." And I just remember feeling like my whole world just came crashing down at that point. I mean, it seems so silly and so trivial, but, you know, so much of the year's events and everything are all sort of built around these big, essentially Christian calendar events. And they'd all been sort of geared towards these characters that were make-believe, like the Easter Bunny and like Santa Claus. And I did feel quite deceived by all of that. In 1 Peter 10, the scripture says, "Do you want to love life and see good days? Then keep your tongues from speaking evil, keep your lips from telling lies." Another verse that I really like is Proverbs 22:6, and this is from the New International Version. It says, "Start off a child on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it." And I also want to read the New Living Translation because it just said it in a different way that just sort of spoke to me a little bit more deeply. It says, "Direct your children onto the right path, and when they are older, they will not leave it." We're going to make mistakes, there's no doubt about it, and I've got so many that I've made already, but let's just try as hard as we can to teach our children in a way that would make Jesus proud. Reason number 2, Christmas is still enjoyable and meaningful without Santa being front and centre. People argue that you'll ruin the magic of Christmas by telling your kids that Santa is made up. Gift giving is still enjoyable and it's still exciting without Santa. It does become all about what we want and not about what Christ gave us. It does take the attention away from being on Jesus and Jesus' birth and celebrating him coming to earth as a human baby, and it becomes all about Santa and what presents you will get and that focus on materialism. So we can change that and make it more about Christ and Christ's birth. I think it's important to mention that you can still educate your child about how Santa Claus is pretend, but St. Nicholas was a Christian bishop who gave things to the poor and sick, and he's the basis for the character of Santa Claus. We can still teach our kids that there are godly qualities in the real St. Nicholas who dedicated his life to serving others and lived a Christ-like life, which is something that we can try and emulate. There is a saying that goes around a lot, particularly leading up to Christmas, that parents repeat to their kids, "You're not going to get any presents if you don't be good." And that rattles me a little bit too. Are we teaching our kids that you only get good things if you are good? Doesn't that go against the whole Christian message? In that case, no one should be getting any gifts at Christmas at all. Sorry. We're going to mess up, and this can lead us on to talk about the grace of God, which is a much better thing to teach our kids about. We get what we don't deserve through Jesus. In Romans 5:8 it says, "But God demonstrates his own love for us in this, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." What a great message to teach our kids, rather than you only get good things if you're good. Number 3, now this is a slightly smaller issue to me, and of course some people are going to feel very differently about this, but I feel like it's important to mention. Something that doesn't sit quite right with me around Christmas time is encouraging our little children to walk up to a random stranger, that being the Santa, particularly in those shops, and being okay with allowing our kids to sit on their knee. And we don't know those people from a bar of soap. We don't know that random man who's dressing up as Santa. Well, at least most of the time I doubt we do. It seems like a fairly petty thing. And I'm sure that the Santas in shops are vetted and all of that. But we spend so long trying to instill a healthy respect and fear of strangers into our kids, and then we teach them around Christmas time it's okay to sit on a strange man's lap and tell them what we want for Christmas. It just seems a little bit counterintuitive. To wrap up today, I would like to challenge you just to pray about whether or not you need to have a frank conversation with your kids about Santa. I know it may not be comfortable, but trust me, they will be grateful later on. Pray about what you feel with with regards to this, and I hope you understand that my personal experiences shape what we do now, and this is my personal conviction. I just want to thank you for tuning in again this week. Don't forget that you can sign up for my email list. I send out downloads for all my YouTube tutorials to my subscribers, and that's at littlekingdomwarriors.com. Show notes will have any links that I've mentioned, so please come and share with me what you thought of the episode. And if you do Santa in your family, I'd love to know that. Tell me what you think in the Facebook community, which I will link for you in the show notes. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. Bye. Hey friends, if this podcast encouraged you or made an impact on you in some way, I would be so grateful if you could take a minute to leave a review to help other people find my show. Don't forget to click subscribe so you are the first to know when a new episode airs. Hop on over and join my free Little Kingdom Warriors Facebook community, which I will link for you in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening and God bless. I'll see you next time.